I'm gonna pop across to my very good friend, and I declare an interest here. I've known Mike for many, many years indeed, more than I care to imagine, actually, Mike. But just to introduce Mike Pederson, who is actually down on Zoom as Mike Johanna, but I think Johanna being Mike's wife, of course. Mike's a former IT international director turned builder of his own sustainable eco-housing projects. So as Mike was telling me and reminding me on a couple of occasions, he sourced his own materials, researched his own construction methods, and found out kind of the hard way around a whole series of must-have tips and tricks towards building genuinely off-grid sustainable housing. So Mike's going to give, I hope, some thoughts, ideas, insights into the various projects, including turning that 200-year-old building into an exemplar of eco-friendliness, Mike, as well. So over to you.
Well, thank you very much. I just set out a stall a little bit in the beginning, but my background, which goes way back, my background is I'm trained as a physicist, and then postgraduate into renewables, and then a lot of energy work, which was done in the 1970s when we had energy problems and we had to close factories and shut them down and save a lot of energy. So my background is mostly in business. So we did all that energy stuff, but it was very difficult to apply anything in those days. So my background in business is IT, e-learning, which we brought into the UK, things like internet security, which and we worked between Norway and the UK. And at the latter part of my career, I was actually kind of a trade ambassador between Norway and the UK, and that's kind of a little bit important because I suddenly realised that the guys in Norway were living in really nice houses, and it was -20 outside, and it was warm inside, and we didn't have very much heating on at all. So I thought there's something going on here. So we lived in Norway for quite a while, and then when we came back into the UK, and then now in Scotland, we decided that what we should do is build a Scottish house in the style of with Norwegian technology. And so we started building a timber frame house in Scotland, and we built that one up over a number of years while I was still working. So it was quite hard work, and that was stone clad, but triple glazed. Some bits and pieces that we brought over from Norway. One in particular, because I had some decent business contacts, I think we brought lots of people in the UK have fridges. And if you have a fridge, you put it up against the wall, for example, that warms the wall up. In Norway, lots of people have engines that they put into a cupboard, and they take the coldness out of the cupboard, make it into a fridge, like a walk-in fridge, and it warms up the utility room. So actually, I managed to persuade at some point a pilot to allow me some hand luggage from Bergen into Newcastle, which was a fridge engine, which was quite good, and that's plugged into the house here, and actually warms up the fridge. Actually warms up my utility room. So the house that we've actually built, finished in 2009, has got the ground source heat pump. It has the hot water panels on the roof. It has huge water stores and PV outside, triple glazed, and really important, completely sealed windows with heat recovery systems in the attic, and it's very cheap to run. So that was a good exercise. That was on a greenfield site and building it up, and it took a few years to do, but there was a lot of interesting things that came through. After that, we had an opportunity because we purchased many years ago a Scottish farm workers building, which was old, about 200-year-old, very small. But walls that were, I don't know, 2 feet thick, made of stone. And I decided, my wife wasn't that keen on it, I decided to convert that into an eco house. Really, really hard work. All the walls aren't straight. There's problems with the floors in place. And so we went through all of this, and we put in an air source heat pump. We floated some new concrete into the building. We polished the floors up so that they've all got like diamond polished concrete inside. And then we completely built some new doors, sealed all the windows, and put heat recovery systems. We had to look for very special ones because you couldn't there wasn't room in the building to do that. So we've now got another house that we use with tourists, shall we say, and costing about 25 quid a month to keep warm for all the electricity. A lot of PV that heats up the water, and a lot of tricks and things in there. And because I spent a lot of time actually in business going back to around Europe and over to the States, a bit of a bad conscience. So we got into rewilding. And so we were rewilding quite a big chunk of the Scottish borders, planting trees and what have you. And what we decided to do was to build an eco building on there, but it was going to be completely off-grid. So batteries, photovoltaic, vertical access windmill, and that kind of thing. So we're in the process of building that at the moment. So, and our own water source into the building, and then doing so essentially without any leanings towards any utilities whatsoever. And it was completely independent building. In fact, you can't even get your car to it. You have to walk, which is probably a good thing anyway. So what's interesting is we've gone through these different stages. One is a big timber frame, 5-bedroom building, and then a smaller farm workers building, and then an off-grid. And if somebody says, what's your conclusion with all of this? Is that we already had a pre-chat beforehand, and one of the things was ventilation. Keep away the drafts, keep the house pretty well sealed, but get fresh air in. But the other thing, after all these years, what I realized was we build our houses too big. We have too much space. And, you know, I've obviously gone through a generation where we had a small house when I was a child. You build one up. This house has got 5 bedrooms. It's great at Christmas when everybody gets together. But then there's 364 other days when we're not all together. And what do you do with it? So what we seem to have done in the UK is build very big houses and fill them up with IKEA furniture, and with lots of rooms and not really using them too much. And I've suddenly realized, in actual fact, you could actually live in quite comfortably in quite a small house. And I know there's a big drive towards tiny houses at the moment, but they're very sustainable. And what I'm experimenting with was the off-grid building. So we're actually in the fields next to us. We had lots of sheep, about 350 sheep. So last weekend we sheared all them, and we put them all into the wool into plastic bags, and that's going into the off-grid building. And air miles for the insulation is probably about 20 yards, which is not a bad thing at all. And the timber that we're using there is from the local sawmill. Again, air miles, nothing. It's half a mile away, and we're using the wood from there to finish the whole thing off. So it's a bit experimental, and it's also a bit satisfying in a way. But there's lots of tips and ideas that we're coming through. Built the whole this particular off-grid one, instead of putting a foundation down and filling it all with concrete. We thought, this can't be right. And then I looked towards Scandinavia again, and when you've got these hutters up in the mountains, or the Norwegian summer huts and what have you, they're on the mountainside, and the mountainside's like this. You don't want to pour concrete and all this. So they've actually invented in Scandinavia giant screws, 2 meters tall, ground screws. And we've used these now in our off-grid building. It took a day and no concrete, and we screwed it all in, and we did some tests to 2 millimeters from one end to the other, out of balance. And that was it. And then we can just build on it. And of course, we're going to make it completely sealed and airtight. And this obviously was going to have off-grid, battery-powered, vertical access windmill, and all those kind of things. So we'll have a lot of, and actually the thing is we always seem to build our houses in the wrong direction. South is over here, well, it is in this house, and this is where all our glass is, and it keeps warming everything up. And I keep seeing people building houses at different funny angles, so they're not getting all the PV, and they're not getting any of the, well, you architects know that, what is it, the passive heating of the sun as it passes the south of the building. So the buildings we're working on at the moment is due south, absolutely spot on due south, lots of glass, no windows anywhere else, essentially, and that's just going to keep warm. So I'm afraid mine, I haven't got any slides. And what I have got is a tan. And the reason I got a tan is because I've been working for a last few weeks out, putting the ground screws in and leveling all things up. So, and after this, back out on the land to carry on. So practical stuff is what I'm involved in at the moment. So I think I didn't put a timer on, Chris. I'm sorry.
I think you're probably pretty close to your allocated time, Mike. So that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful, and I think it's a great lesson to us all that so okay so you had your hinterland of experience and education in the sectors that we're talking about here, but you've kind of learned on the job as you're going along, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. And so here you are, almost living the dream in that respect, and so turning to local resource and local material. I mean, I'm astonished that your installation comes from the next field. I think that's absolutely wonderful. So nothing we can add to that, and I certainly don't think I can top that this evening. So I'm going to thank you very much indeed, Mike.